What's up, Reclaimers? I'm Miss Toxic. Thanks for joining me. Sorry for not posting any solid content in a while. I've been doing some research for a video that I'm hoping to have finished by the end of February. I can't explain exactly what it is because I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I hope you will all like it. But enough of that. Recently I was talking to a friend about how every game is shifting to an open world style, and although making games bigger and more immersive is the ideal, not all games need to be open world to be enjoyed, and some even suffer from moving towards this direction. So I decided that I wanted to talk about why I'm tired of a lot of things in open world games and what is making me so tired of them. Let me set this straight. I don't think making games less linear is a bad thing. I do believe making everything a huge open world really detaches the player from the main story's plot. Take Fallout 4 for example. As soon as you leave Vault 101, you are free to choose to go wherever and do whatever you want. But it doesn't make sense for the main narrative for the sole survivor to suddenly leave the vault and say, time to forget about my son being kidnapped. Instead, let's go diving into ruins and smash super mutants to bits with this legendary rolling pin I just found for the next 30 hours. And I know every Bethesda open world RPG does this, like Fallout 3 and Oblivion, but I feel like these two games didn't have that sense of urgency that Fallout 4 was trying to push. There was a disconnect between you, the player, and the main protagonist, and I think that's why a lot of fans were unhappy with Fallout 4's story direction. Another example of this was Final Fantasy 15, even though it's lovely and well developed for an open world game, and overall just a fantastic game, but you kind of lose part of the emotional narrative when just a cutscene later you can spend the next 10 hours of the game just fishing for a trophy fish. As a lot of the initial impact, for me at least, is lost when the game lets you run loose like some child in the mall whose mom just let go of their hand. Now, I'm not saying open world games are bad, but I think developers need to find a way to keep the players engaged in the story that's actually going on around them, so that there's no disconnect between the player and the player's character. The Witcher 2 and Witcher 3 are fine examples of pacing the narrative so that it doesn't feel weird for Geralt to take a few minutes to go harvest some drowner brains for the village witch or slay a noon wraith that's been tormenting a small farm. Here's one of my biggest peeves. In a lot of open world games, the player character has a set personality, but once you get out of the story bit, you can do anything that contradicts who they are. Like in LA Noire, where you play a by-the-books detective, but as soon as you get to the open world bit, you can hijack cars and be a general nuisance to society. I understand that wreaking havoc is the main reason why people play open world games like this, but it's hard to suspend my suspension of disbelief when 2 minutes ago I was just putting a serial killer in prison and now I'm basically committing the same crime. There are some games that do try to recognize your foul deeds you've committed, like in the Elder Scrolls series, but really there is no acknowledgement that you were the same guy running around in your underwear a minute ago who just crashed a helicopter into the side of a building killing 25 people. Now this is solely just an issue with RPGs that have made the switch to an open world style game and think that since it's open world it also means they have to do away with classes as well. When I heard Mass Effect Andromeda was removing the class system, I rolled my eyes on the inside. The problem with no classes in a character progression system is that if you plan on doing multiple playthroughs, character builds start feeling very similar to one another. And to me, it kills the diversity you would get if you had played a different class. If I use Oblivion as an example, unlike in Skyrim, you had the choice to choose one birth sign and that would impact which skills your character would be able to take advantage of and master, meaning you could not switch your character's birth sign on the fly like you can with Skyrim's Standing Stone, making every character you play drastically different from the other one. And some may argue that I wasn't being imaginative enough or I didn't know how to build characters differently, and to that argument I say Kingdoms of Amalur. That game has no classes you can choose in the beginning, but how they handle it is genius. You're able to choose your fate. So as you put points into the 3 skills, you're able to choose these fate cards that can determine what kind of skills and abilities you're able to use. Not to mention the insane amount of weapon and magic variety, and I can guarantee you won't be playing the same build twice. Some games games are big and huge and well detailed, but lack things for the players to be able to do or interact with the world. A good example of this is Skyrim, and I know a lot of you may love this game, and that this game might be your favorite in the Elder Scrolls series. But even with the improvements to the sword and other gameplay elements, the land of Skyrim couldn't feel any more empty and devoid of life. There are two factions warring, yet do you ever stumble into a battle or remnants of a battle? There's mention of werewolves and even werebears, but I don't recall running into any in the vanilla game. And as you travel the roads, the lack of NPCs you see traveling the world is rather disappointing. Coupled with the repetitive Radiant quest missions given by your faction, and the experience just becomes mundane compared to other open world titles you may have played before. I didn't make this video to shit on certain games, just to address my concerns with the open world genre in general, and maybe add some insight into why some people may feel the open world genre is starting to become too oversaturated. In my opinion, open world games are cheaper to make than a game that would need support to stay relevant for 2 years. A developer can make an open world game, fill it with all sorts of fetch quests, enough to keep the player busy enough so that they don't have to worry about adding new content for at least a year after release. And a lot of people who praise these games are not like me, who can sit down for 8 hours a day, play a game and recognize how monotonous it is, set up my mic and start bitching about it online. Most people who buy these games are the average working citizen or a kid that goes to school that only has maybe 2 hours to play per day. And that's why I think devs like open world games. They don't have to use resources to constantly add new things so the player doesn't get bored, and they can focus on making the next unlimited experience. Well guys, what do you think? Are you growing tired of the poorly done open world games? What are your favorite open world games? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already subscribed, maybe subscribe and check out my other long-winded rants. Have a good one, I'll see you guys later.